Washington, the bird is back. If there were any concerns that Evgeny Kuznetsov wasn't at 100% after leaving Game 2 with an apparent wrist injury, the Washington Capitals' leading scorer put them to rest in a 3-1 victory against the Golden Knights on Saturday night. The wrist sure wasn't bothering him when Kuznetsov took a shot that led to the game's first goal, or when he scored on a wrist shot in the second period. And it certainly wasn't bothering him when he skated down the ice and waved his arms in a Flappy Bird celebration that opponents have seen way too much during these playoffs. This was Kuznetsov at his best. This was Washington at its best. It had been 20 years since the Capitals had hosted a Stanley Cup final at home, and the players gave the sold-out Sea of Red plenty to cheer about, as Kuznetsov had a 2-point night, Jay Beagle had 2 assists, and Alex Ovechkin scored his franchise record-tying 14th goal of the playoffs. With the win, Washington heads into Game 4 on Monday with a 2-1 series lead, 2 wins away from a first-ever Stanley Cup. It was in Game 2 when Kuznetsov left the first period clutching his left arm after receiving a hard hit from Vegas' Brayden McNabb. He had been a game-time decision heading into Saturday night, but head coach Barry Trotz seemed confident the tough Russian would find a way to play. The Capitals had managed a win without Kuznetsov in Game 2, but his return was a huge sigh of relief. Ovechkin might be the team's emotional leader and Conn Smythe Trophy favorite, but Kuznetsov, who scored the series clincher against the Penguins in the second round and who leads the playoffs with 27 points, has arguably been their best player. He certainly earned that distinction in Game 3. Kuznetsov had a goal and an assist, but he could have ended up with plenty more. But the goals didn't come easy for either team. Vegas hit 2 posts and Ovechkin was robbed on a 2-on-1 by a gorgeous split save by Marc-Andre Fleury, but there were no goals in the first period. The closest any team came was when Capitals forward Chandler Stevenson sailed a shot past Fleury, but it was immediately waved off because of a goalie interference penalty on Devontae Smith-Pelly. It was the right call. Smith-Pelly was trying to screen Fleury on the play, but went one step further when he jumped and collided with the Vegas goalie's head, making it impossible for Fleury to see or stop the puck. Things got only tougher for Fleury in the second, as Washington fired 14 shots on net and took a 2-0 lead on goals from Ovechkin and Kuznetsov. Ovechkin got things started when he scored 70 seconds into the period on a play that resembled a shooting gallery. First, John Carlson took a shot that Fleury saved. Then Kuznetsov took one. Then Carlson. And finally, Ovechkin put the puck in the net on a leaping backhand lunge. Midway through the second period, Kuznetsov made a 2-0 on a breakaway goal that began with a bad pinch by Vegas' Shea Theodore. Losing the puck and then his stick at the offensive blue line, Theodore tried to smother the puck and was burned as Beagle sprung Kuznetsov with a pass up the ice for the game winner. Up 2-0 in the third, Vegas made it a 1-goal game on a generous play from Braden Holtby, who up until then had been on pace for a shutout. Playing the puck behind the net, the Capitals goalie who had been so good in Game 2 made a mental error when his pass was intercepted for one of the easiest goals that Tomas Nosek has scored in his young career. It could have been a turning point. Instead, the Capitals bailed out a goalie who had bailed them out so many times in these playoffs. Once again, it came off another defensive gaffe from Theodore. And once again, it was Beagle stealing the puck, and he found Smith-Pelly in front to make it 3-1. 2 more wins like that and Washington might really give its fans something to cheer about. Email mtricos@postmedia.com, Twitter @Michael strikers.